All right, we are back here with Mile High Sports. Myself, Swipa, Ryan Blackburn, aka as Jamal Murray knows, Ryan Charburn.
Yeah, I
So
guess so.
we have a spectacular game coming up where you have, honestly, I think in the last 4 seasons, these are probably the 2 best players in the world: Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Man, they're coming into town with a brand new coach after being the 2nd seed, by the way. And then all of a sudden, Doc Rivers. So you're telling me they get a Hall of Fame coach? And
Okay.
and they got 2 all-star starters in Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
Yo, this is a big deal.
Big deal, baby. Let's go. Let's go. I mean, you already know that Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably very happy about this news that Doc Rivers is the next coach. But I got to tell you, like, he was vouching for Adrian Griffin, and Adrian Griffin lasted 43 games. I don't know what's going on there because they were 30-13. I know it wasn't perfect, man. I know that things were a little bit off, but like, it's just so fascinating to see how these things go in the NBA. Like, what was Doc Rivers doing? I called him Rock Divers because that's what people call him as the GM back in the day. What does Doc Rivers like actually add to that group right now? I have no idea.
Well, I think I will say this. I'm not a Doc protector at all, but I think he's going to add a lot of structure to what they're doing on both ends of the court.
True.
And again, relationally, people love him. So I think the issues that were coming up with Adrian Griffin, some of it sounds like it wasn't just on-court stuff. Remember, they had Terry Stotts on the roster to start the year off. They had a philosophical disagreement. Terry Stott leaves, and then here we go. And I think the thing is that Giannis obviously just signed off on Adrian Griffin. He says that, he didn't know he was being dismissed. I'll take him for his word.
Okay.
But they're adding Doc Rivers to this. Their only mission for them is to get back to the finals and win the championship. They haven't been to the finals since they played versus Trae Young in Eastern Conference Finals, since James Harden had a muscle torn off of his leg and Kyrie Irving had an ankle injury so bad it put him out for months.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. They, maybe more than any other team in the East, I would even say more than the Celtics, have to make a finals run because they traded for Damian Lillard. They got rid of Drew Holiday. Milwaukee, Wisconsin loves Drew Holiday. Won a championship with him. Giannis said, I need more help. I'm not signing my contract until you get me a better player. So they literally said, here, Damian Lillard. You have one of the clutchest players in the NBA, one of the best scorers in the NBA, one of the best offensive guards in NBA history.
True.
With Giannis and Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez, 2 DPOY candidates. Oh, my goodness.
Chris Middleton rounded into form, man. He looks pretty good, and I'm pretty impressed with what he's been able to do. Brook Lopez, obviously, he's clearly on the downside of his career. He does not look like the same level of defender, and I think that's one of the problems that Adrian Griffin and the Bucks really had is that their defense just isn't the same, and it's not all because of Dame. You can't just blame Damian Lillard for all of it, man, because the minutes where Dame was off the floor and Giannis and Brook Lopez were on, they're actually worse defensively. Mm-hmm. Like, that's crazy. And I know it's not just because they're playing campaign or guys like that. Like, they're playing some pretty decent perimeter defenders around Giannis and Brook, and it's just not really working. Like, Andre Jackson is a rookie who's pretty solid, and like Chris Middleton is still he's a seasoned defender. Yeah, but like Malik Beasley's now like their guy. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But like, look, they don't have the same defensive personnel that they obviously did. But like, that's
or the same buy-in.
That's what Giannis and Brook are supposed to be there for.
Yeah.
And that's just not really happening.
So when you look at this matchup versus the Denver Nuggets on Monday, what do you foresee as being the matchup the Nuggets will have to take advantage of in order to be able to secure a victory versus the Bucks?
Oh, it's Jamal Murray in the pick and roll, no question. Like, this is one where Jamal has to really impose his will. Like, he's going up against Malik Beasley, former teammate, former guy that they were drafted in the same draft class. And Malik is absolutely going to try to take that matchup pretty seriously with him, and he's going to do what he can on the defensive end. Dame is not going to guard that matchup. They're going to put him on KCP. And so whether it's Dame or whether it's Malik Beasley or whoever they put in front of Jamal, like, he has to take advantage.
Jamal had 20 points, I think, in Denver last game, in the home game that they played. And they were running that double drag really high and bringing Brook Lopez to the level. And Brook couldn't step up that much. He was lighting them up with 3-pointers.
Pretty solid.
I think that should be another game plan. It's just like, how can we get Brook and Giannis, honestly, both in space as much as possible, get them away from the rim? But if you look at the numbers, the Nuggets have actually dominated when they've been fully healthy versus the Bucks the last 3 seasons.
Sure.
And Jokic in particular putting up crazy numbers versus the Bucks. So I think that they don't offer enough defensive resistance. So some of this is going to be, we know Giannis is about to score because Giannis always dunks on the Nuggets a lot, especially in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's true. His first quarter dunk rate against Denver is probably like 50% of his shots. I have no doubt that Aaron Gordon's going to let up a couple, Jokic will let up a couple, and Denver's probably not going to be as great defensively early on in this game. But that's what Denver does is they tighten up throughout the game, and if Denver's still in this one, if they are still in this game, they're going to tighten up that defensive pressure more and more and more. And I think a guy like Aaron Gordon's going to really step up. But I look to Jokic, I look to Murray in this one. I look to Michael Porter, who there was one game back when Porter was just coming onto the scene, heading into Milwaukee, and he crossed over Chris Middleton, sent him to the floor. It was actually one of his final games before sustaining an injury. But I think that Denver, they can really take advantage of Milwaukee defensively. Their defense just isn't good enough, and they're not in great form. And Denver, after this Philly matchup on Saturday, they're going to be in pretty good form, I think, offensively.
And then they got the Thunder coming up right after that. So this honestly is a part of that continuation of the Nuggets playing versus these really elite teams that have a lot going for them that I think the Nuggets are going to be amped up to play against because they play versus 76ers and the Bucks at home. They go on the road to the Thunder, and then they come back to Denver for 2 more games. So again, 4 of the next 5 games are going to be at home. They should have plenty of energy for these matchups. Again, and you just got beat by 38 points to the Knicks.
Yeah.
So I expect this to be a really good game. I think actually the Nuggets are going to pull out a victory versus the Bucks too, because I just don't think they're afraid of what the Bucks do.
Let me ask you this. Is there a matchup, because we've seen now Philly, we've seen Boston, we've seen New York go up against Denver, we've seen Miami obviously in the past. They haven't really changed that much. Is there a team out in the East that you would fear the most of any of these teams that Denver could face in an NBA
Yeah, it's still going to be
matchup?
the Celtics because they're going to put up 47% of their shots from 3, and they're going to 3 hunt because they're going to have games where they're smoking 50% from 3, 24 attempts in the first half. They made 12 threes. Next thing you know, the score is 67 to 58 or something like that.
Yeah,
but as we see, the Nuggets, the way the Nuggets play and why they're so dominant is they go like this. It's just little by little by little at a time. You might get these really big leaps, but they're always going to try to hunt you. So I still think it's the Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis as a pick and pop player is going to be really important. But here's the thing. They have no defensive answer for Denver.
Yeah.
None. Because even if the regular season stuff looks really good for them, Jamal Murray is going to give them problems. MPJ as a spot-up shooter is going to give them issues. And then KCP, Aaron Gordon, Peyton, and then on top of that, and you get in a playoff setting versus Joker, he's going to do whatever by any means necessary. So I think it would be the Celtics. I think after that would be the Bucks. And honestly, I don't think the 76ers are that much of a threat just because I know they're just not going to be the same level of team in the playoffs.
It is fascinating to think about. Like the regular season version of the Sixers, I think is the most dangerous team to Denver. But I don't think you're going to get the regular season version of them in a playoff setting, or especially in an NBA final setting. So I think I agree with you. Why is it not the Bucks?
Well, here's the thing. They also don't have a defensive answer. Jamal Murray will be extremely comfortable versus that matchup. The Nuggets played Damian Lillard twice in a playoff setting, and they played versus him since 2012, 4 times a year. It's like there couldn't be a guard they're more familiar with than Dame.
True.
Dame is also 6'2". He is going to get mismatch hunched the entire game. Think about down the stretch of a 4th quarter, and it's a tight game, last 5 minutes. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Bring Giannis up, bring Dame up.
Guard screen.
What's up?
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Exactly.
That's exactly what they're going to be pointing at. So on the other end, they're going to have to switch through MPJ, switch through KCP, switch through Jamal, Aaron Gordon, and then Jokic at the level, who we've seen be elite as a pick and roll player. So even what they're going to present, I don't think they have enough to overcome the onslaught that Denver will have versus the Bucks. So for me, I think Giannis is an incredible player, but Giannis is just not the type of player that for me playing versus Jokic, I just don't think that's going to be enough to overcome that matchup.
I still have a little bit more of a healthy fear of the Bucks just because when you combine, because what we've seen with Dame before is he's been paired with guys like Yusuf Nurkic and Mason Plumlee in a playoff environment, Enes Kanter. This is a different beast entirely because Giannis is going to put so much pressure on that rim against a team like Denver, whereas Denver could kind of bait Dame into passing it to Nurkic or passing it to Plumlee or passing it to other guys back in the day. Whereas now, if you pass it to Giannis, he's going to be a freight train. He's going to run over whoever he's going through.
Well, I think my question about Dame is kind of on the spot. I've looked this up. I don't see any series Dame has had past the second round where he's been even like an all NBA level player.
Because he's played 2 series past the second round.
But that's what I mean, though.
Yeah.
But then there's just, he doesn't, but even in the playoffs, when they play versus the Nuggets the first time, 2018-19, he wasn't the best player on the court for them. It was CJ McCollum.
That's true.
He just doesn't have I think the physicality gets to him. So I think if you were to say 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds for a 6'2" guard, we've seen Steph Curry struggle get into a final setting versus LeBron James.
True.
So I think Dame getting, and that's why Jamal is it's just a different kind of player. People are like, where's this Jamal coming from? Well, he's a 6'4.5" guard that's extremely physical and extremely crafty.
Big guard. Former
that still
center.
helps. So I think the Bucks would still be formidable, but I don't even, if you had to rank top 2 teams that you think will come out the East, who would they be?
It's Celtics and it's probably still the Bucks, but like
sounds like Heat slander to me.
It could be the Heat. I mean, look, man, the Heat just faced the Celtics, and
it's a regular season game.
I understand, but like
they just got Terry Rozier.
I also think that the Celtics just have better defensive personnel now than they did before.
And to guard Jimmy?
Yeah.
Didn't Caleb Martin average like 19 points a game, like a 65 true shooting last year as an off-ball scorer?
It's true. They didn't have Drew Holiday then.
Who didn't have Drew Holiday?
The Celtics.
What's Drew Holiday going to do?
He's good. If he's not on
sorry,
ball
did
with
Jamal
Jimmy,
Murray just have like an 83 shooting versus Drew Holiday?
Caleb Martin is not Jamal Murray. Like
Jimmy Butler, dang sure is dang there.
I understand. I get it. But like, what I will say,
Scary
is
Terry
that
out there.
The Heat can't keep getting away with him.
Keep getting away with what? They've been to 2 finals in the last 4 years and 3 Eastern Conference
How
finals.
in the world is that possible?
What do you mean? Bam, Jimmy, shooters, defense.
Okay.
Are you really saying? Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold the applause. Hold the rancor.
The applause.
So
Nobody's applauding anything.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you think what the Heat have done the last 4 seasons, would you say it's fake?
I don't think it's fake, but like I think that it's mostly about other teams faltering and not rising to their potential.
What's the difference with the Celtics now? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, have they elevated to the point where you're like, they're not going to shrivel up at all?
I do think that they've grown up a little bit.
Since when?
I think so you got to go through the doldrums.
We haven't even seen them in the playoffs yet. I have a question. Will they put their first round opponent out in less than 6 games this year?
Who? The Celtics?
Yes.
Okay.
So if it's Trae Young again, if it's Trae Young by himself, by the way,
there's no way.
They went 6 last year.
Ain't no way.
I'm not shaking your hand on this. I want to know
4 or 5 games
with the Hawks,
or
with the first round. Anybody in the first round.
Anybody in the first round. Hawks.
Okay, I'm not saying the Nets.
Orlando,
not the Nets. The Nets don't count. That's not a real basketball team.
Talking about their first round matchup.
I know, but the Nets don't have a 1A player.
They will win their first round matchup by 5 or less. We're off topic.
5 or less.
We're off topic.
Sounds like a great topic to me.
I think this is going to be a fascinating game on Monday. I'm looking forward to Jokic versus Giannis. Is always a pleasure. It's unfortunate that never shows up on national TV because it should have been the national
still
TV
not on
game.
national television?
No,
it's on NBA TV.
I think so. It's just cool, man. Like it's just not like I don't understand it. Those have been the 2 best like overall players in the last half decade, and that just doesn't matter.
Okay, I guess the Milwaukee and Denver market doesn't move anybody.
Guess not. So we'll see what happens. But if you want to sign us out
all
here,
right. Well, Nuggets, Bucks, Monday. We'll see what happens. It's Mile High Sports. Swipa, Ryan Charburn. See you soon.